Hey there, and welcome back, business math students. This is our last lecture series, and we're going to talk about a little bit about statistics. We're going to look at mean, median, and mode. I'm going to start this off with two of my favorite quotes concerning statistics. One, there are three kinds of lies: lies, damned lies, and statistics. That's Mark Twain. That's a good one. My personal favorite, though, is from British economist Ronald Coase. If you torture the data long enough, it will confess to anything. And yes, that is true. If you look over here on the right, you're going to notice that we have, or we'll be looking at mean, median, and mode. Right? We're not going to look at range today. We're just going to look at mean, median, and mode. And we're going to talk about those things. We're going to talk about how do we get them, and then which ones are should we use, right? Because they're both, or they're all both. They're all three used to figure out something that we call central tendency. So in statistics, we want to find how do our numbers centralize themselves. So where do we end up, right? And so we have this idea of central tendency, and that is the tendency to cluster. Handwriting's horrible today. Around a middle value. Okay, and you're going to notice that the mean, or the average, which is probably the one I think everybody from about third grade is familiar with, that's usually what everybody uses. Oh, the average number is this, the average number is that. And a lot of people ask that, a lot of people get it, and it's not necessarily the best way to figure out what the middle tendency is. So let's just quickly look at how do we figure out mathematically, how do we do that? So to get the average is easy, right? You just add up all the numbers and you divide it by the amount of numbers that you have, right? And that gives you your average. So in our first example, right, 931,836, we just add them up. 30 divided by 6 numbers, our average number or average value in this scenario right here is 5. Okay. If we look at the median, right, you'll notice over here, right, we basically look at what is the middle number. So we look at them. We have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. So since it's an even number, we're not going to have a middle number. We're going to have to add up. We're going to have to add the two middle values and then divide by 2, right? So we can get the average of those numbers. And in this case, our median is 4.5. It's not far off from our 5. And then our mode is, what's the most common number? Well, in this case, it's 3. Okay. So in this one, our central value is 5. Our central value is 4.5. And our central value is 3. Okay. Why are they so different? And does that matter? Well, yeah, because, right, data or statistics can be very misleading. Okay. So let's take a look at an example that I just came up with before I did this lecture. And let's look at income. Let's take a look at our income. This could be of a company. Let's say it's of a company, right? Let's say somebody asks the CEO, "Hey, what's your average salary?" All right, and the CEO says, "Okay, well." Turns to his CFO and he says, "Hey, calculate some data really quick for me," right? So the CFO goes over there and he looks at his employees and he notices that we have one employee that makes 20,000. This is in dollars. We have one employee that makes 25,000. We have an employee that makes 30,000. We have an employee that makes 40,000. We have an employee that makes 50,000. We have an employee that makes 500,000, and right, the CEO who makes 750,000. Okay. Now, if we look at the data, if we were to graph this data, right, we're going to have a skewed data. So if we have income over here, right, we're going to have something that looks something like this, right? It looks a little bit like this. And then we're going to have our mean or our average salary. Okay, and I already did the math here for you. And our mean, our average salary, the CEO comes, the reporter asks, what's your average salary? And the CEO says, oh, our average salary here at our factory is $202,000, $142.86. Everybody says, wow, man, I would love to work at that factory. All right. What the reporter really wanted to ask was, what is your median salary? So if we look at the mean, right, if this is 750 right here, that's our top number. I kind of messed that up, but you get it, right? We can see, oh, our average is right about here. So we have our mean here. Okay. If we look at our median, which is just the middle number, you'll notice that our median, we've got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So 1, 2, 3, right? We know that our median salary is $40,000. And that would be somewhere right about here. We'll just say that, right? Let's say it's right here. So this is our median, which represents this data set over here, does it not? Right? It gives a better representation of what's your most, about what do people make the most, right? And so you would get $40,000, right? Would be your median, would be a more accurate number, correct? So was the CEO wrong in saying this? No, but the number led you to believe something else about that factory than what is really true. Same thing for, the average property value in an area. Somebody might say, oh, the average property value is, $500,000. Well, that's going to be skewed if you have a home that, you have 3 homes that are worth $5 million and the rest of the homes are worth $30,000. So you're going to have a very skewed data set. So if you have a skewed data set, meaning you have something that looks like this, right, you probably want to use median and not the average, okay? And your skewed data sets, right, can look, they can have a tail over here and look like this, or they can look more like this, right? So you don't want to use it. If you have something that's a little bit more standard, that's kind of, looks like this, you can probably use your average, your mean, and it'll work for you, okay? And that's not really a problem. If you have skewed and you're looking at the numbers and you're like, man, some of these numbers are way, way off, you probably don't want to use average because it's going to give you really a false sense of what the central tendency is. Okay, you probably want to go with median. You may even want to go with mode. And mode is a little bit different. What is mode, right? If we look at mode, mode is more for categorical type things, right? So when would you use mode, right? Median and mean seems to make sense, but when would you use mode? So this is more for, or I would say at our level, would be more for categorical data. Okay, so things like, what do you think of me as an instructor, right? 1, not very effective. 5, extremely effective. What's your favorite color? Red, green, black, blue, orange, yellow, those types of things where you get some kind of graph that looks like this, and you get here's your graph. This is green, right? And you have 1, 2, 5, 7, 10 There's green. This is how many people like red. This is this bar. This is how many people liked the color black. And this is the number of people that liked the color blue. Right? It's kind of hard to find a middle, right? We could add up all those, but then it's kind of like, well, what does that mean? And so we want to know, well, what is our most common number, right? Our most common number, we had, this many people liked this color, and this many people liked this color, and this many people like this color, or I rate your effectiveness here and there. You really can't, what's your average effectiveness? I guess you could do that a little bit. I had 10 people say I was very effective, and 10 people say I was very ineffective. So I'm pretty good. I'm in the middle, right? And I was like, not really. You seem to be equally bad. So that stuff is mode. You can kind of look at the data that way. There's really no middle ground in that. That data set would look completely ineffective, and completely effective would look like that, right? Or something similar to that. Okay. Anyway, if you have any trouble with the homework, let me know. Get in touch with me as soon as you can. And that's it. I don't have any more of these for you. Until next time.